In this video, I'm going to talk about the one thing that made my relative language learning success possible more than any other factor that I can think of. Hey there! My name is Witek, I'm 29 and I come from Poland. I've been learning foreign languages since I can remember, and I've learned 6 of them so far, including passing C2 exams in English and German. I sat down to reflect on my language learning journey to see what others could potentially learn from it. And I noticed one overarching theme in my language learning history. And it's not motivation, not habits, not discipline, and it's not consistency. These things are all important, and I talk about them on different occasions. They're also all intertwined, both with each other as well as with the one thing that I noticed while reflecting about this. And it's this: consistency. But wait, didn't I just say that it wasn't consistency? Yes, I did, because what I mean is a different kind of consistency. It's ultra long-term consistency. I don't mean showing up nearly every day for several months or maybe even a year or two before seeing decent results in your target language. That's what most people mean when they bring up consistency in language learning. I mean that when I take up a new language, it's always with this mindset: let me see if I can become fluent in this language before I die. I don't actually say this explicitly to myself, but that's what I think. Many people obsess a lot over learning languages fast. Some polyglots are known for their approach of speaking from day one. Marketers of language courses often promise you fluency in 3 months, which is almost never a realistic goal. I think people fall for the tempting idea of becoming fluent quickly because they fundamentally misunderstand the language learning process. Our brains evolved in nutrient-scarce environments. Because of that, they're wired to be selective about what information they store. We're designed to forget what we don't use and only remember what's important. It's a very deeply rooted survival mechanism. That's why we forget almost everything we learn from vocabulary lists by the time of the next review. Unless you know that that's expected, it can very quickly frustrate and overwhelm you. And it's also why it takes such a long time to learn any language. You need to be exposed to each and every word and phrase that you want to acquire multiple times, ideally in optimal intervals, in order to memorize them and be able to use them. But there's another aspect to this, which few people consider. Once you stop learning or using your target language, it fades away. How much exactly you lose depends on the level you've reached, and the more advanced you are, the easier it will be to learn it back. But it holds true that if you stop using a language, you'll forget it. What a waste! And yet, this is where most people seem to go wrong from the very start. So, knowing all that, you may as well make the right choices before you start learning a new language. Many learners ask, do I have the time to learn this language? But few will ask, do I want to keep it in my life forever? Because if you don't, you'll forget it. And unless you really enjoyed the process, all this effort is kind of wasted. While nothing is impossible and people make things work in ways we can't comprehend, I would argue that the more you're willing to make a language part of your life, the bigger the chances that you learn it and never forget it. If you're learning with that mindset, you won't worry that it took you 3 years instead of 6 months to reach conversational fluency because life got in the way. You're less likely to obsess over motivation. You're more likely to use fun ways to learn and learn about things that are fun. You're more likely to build habits and systems, and when time inevitably passes, you'll find yourself speaking and living the language. Whatever breaks you take in between won't be significant for your mindset or your outcomes. That's how I realized I've always learned languages. I find learning languages and living them inherently enjoyable. I rarely obsess over quick results. I don't find it hard to motivate myself to learn. In fact, what I do most of the time doesn't feel like learning at all, even if it objectively is, like working my way through a course that I bought. Whenever I take up a new language, I assume that my goal is to reach fluency eventually, but without a clear deadline in mind. If anything, I just want to see what I can accomplish learning the language on and off for multiple decades, and I'll just have fun learning. How replicable is this? Can anybody just decide to assume this ultra long-term orientation? I doubt it. As sad and deterministic as it sounds, this might be a genetic thing that most people will never have. But if you want to learn one language and not dozens of them like me, then I believe that it's more than possible. My recommendations would then be: 1. Learn it ways that are fun to you, as long as they're at least somewhat efficient. 2. Learn about topics that are fun to you. 3. Do not ever beat yourself up for missing a session or 2 or 20. 4. Start very small and build up your habits over time. 5. Make it harder for yourself to learn than not to learn. What am I saying? 5. Make it harder for yourself to not learn than learn. And 6. Gradually make the language part of your life in as many ways as possible. How exactly you can implement this depends largely on who you are and how you live your life. In the description, you'll find the link to my newsletter. Subscribe now and hit reply on my welcome email to let me know exactly what it is that you're struggling with right now in your language learning journey. I'm putting a lot of effort into every single reply, so it will be very personalized and very actionable. Otherwise, go watch this video next, in which I explain what keeps me so motivated to learn languages that if you left me to my own devices, I would do this all day and wouldn't even know how to stop. Go ahead, click it, it's right here. See you there. In which I explain what keeps me so motivated to learn languages that if you learned me to my own devices, Jesus,